Hi, I'm Roy Anderson. This is my wife Shirley. We've started a YouTube channel, R&S Bees. We're located in Apex, North Carolina. We were born and raised here. 20 years ago, we bought a house in Laurel Springs, North Carolina, which is near the Blue Ridge Parkway. We are both pretty much retired, but we do have a couple part-time jobs. Sometimes we may need to leave for a couple of weeks at a time. So when we got looking at doing different things, we had to keep that in mind.
So we are beginner beekeepers. We became interested in honeybees around 2018, 2019 when we planted some sunflowers at our house in the mountains. We planted a pretty good size sunflower patch, and we would see honeybees working the sunflowers in the early mornings and in the late evenings. And we didn't know of any beekeepers that were around us. And so that's when we realized just how many bees were out living in the wild near us. So we really got interested even more so in 2020 when the COVID-19 pandemic hit. The news was terrible. Network television was awful. We just couldn't stand to watch it anymore. So we started watching a lot of YouTube videos. And so we would search on beekeepers and beekeeping, and we started watching quite a few beekeeping videos on YouTube. So we actually stumbled across Dr. Leo Sharashkin watching YouTube videos, the YouTube channel Off Grid with Doug and Stacy. And Dr. Leo Sharashkin has a...
He's got a PhD in forestry.
Yeah.
But he was raised in Russia and has always been a beekeeper.
So his website is horizonalhive.com, and he has edited a book, Keeping Bees with a Smile, that was written by Fedor Lazutin, but Dr. Leo actually edited and translated this book into English, and Keeping Bees in Horizontal Hives by George DeLayens. And George DeLayens wrote this book in the late 1800s, so none of this was new information. This is kind of going back to old ways. And they're promoting keeping bees in horizontal hives versus the traditional hives that are used in the United States, which are vertical. And also using natural beekeeping methods, not treating your bees, not feeding them artificial food, pollen substitute, or sugar water. And both of those things appeal to us quite a bit. The vertical hives that you see traditionally used in the United States, you stack a box on top as your hive grows, and they get really heavy. And I'm not a very big person, and I really don't want to lift a 40 or 50 pound box that's, you know, maybe as tall as my head to have to move it around to work our bees. So the horizontal hives are expanded horizontally instead of vertically, and so you don't have that issue. And then the natural beekeeping methods just appeal to us because it is letting the bees be bees. It's not treating with any kind of chemicals for pests, and again, not feeding pollen substitute or sugar water. So both of those things appeal to us, and so that's how we kind of got started with our beekeeping journey into using horizontal hives and natural beekeeping methods.
So one of the things that also appealed was not having to inspect your hives, not have to go in as often. The Langstroth hives, the frames the frames are longer, but they're not as deep, like 9 1/4, 9 1/2 inches deep, 16 inches wide, I think. They are fantastic for commercial beekeepers. It's easy to put them on a truck and move them to, if you're a pollinator and you move your bees from place to place around the country, it's fantastic. If you're just into high honey production, the bees tend to put all their honey up at the top. You can add supers on and take them off when it's time and extract them out. And it works very well, you know, if you're doing 500 or 1,000 frames a year, definitely you want to go that route. But for a backyard beekeeper
like us,
this is what we decided we wanted to try. with the regular Langstroth stuff, you really need to be in your bees at least every 2 weeks. Bee, from the time the queen lays the egg till the brood hatches, is around 21 days for worker bees. So you need to be on top of that. So you need to be inspecting your hives pretty quick. The horizontal hives, Layton said you could, just check them twice a year.
Twice a year.
I think realistically, if you're experienced with this stuff, you might can get by with 4 or 5 and be pretty happy. We're new beekeepers, so we're going in a little more often than that. We're trying to see what's happening when we see different things. But this really made a lot more sense to us, just to be able to go in every once in a while, check on the bees, make sure that they're okay and don't need any more room or stuff like that. Bees have been taking care of themselves forever. They still live without human intervention. There's still bees live in the wild with no chemicals, with nobody feeding them sugar water and nobody feeding them pollen substitutes. So we think that works great, and that's the way we want to do it.
So we're going to try it and see. We'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah, we decided early on we don't want to sell bees.
No.
We don't want to be big honey producers, and we don't want to move our bees to pollinate almond trees in California and citrus in Florida and pumpkins in North Carolina. But we just want to have a few hives at home just to kind of help the pollinators out.
And maybe have a little bit of honey to share with our neighbors.
Yep.
Okay, so along with being beginner beekeepers, we are also novice YouTubers, so our productions are not going to be very slick or polished. We built all of our equipment at our house in Apex. We've got a very small workshop. We live right beside a railroad track, and so you'll hear the train come by and you'll hear some equipment as they offload the train cars right behind our shop. We live very close to the airport, and so you may hear planes flying overhead, and our house is on a very busy street. Our hives that we have in Apex are actually in our yard, very close to the road, and so you'll hear traffic noise when we're doing our hive inspections too. We are recording on our cell phones, and we do have a GoPro camera, so we'll get a little bit of different perspective sometimes. And we've just got an old Nikon point-and-shoot camera that we're recording on, so we don't have a slick video equipment. And I'm doing all the editing myself, and I'm using the free software that came with my computer. So we're going to ask you for your comments and feedback, and we do appreciate that, but please be constructive and be nice. We're just regular people just like you are.
Yeah. It's hard to justify buying a $500 microphone, Wi-Fi microphone, when you're just making videos for fun, really, and to help people out. So when we decided to do this, we looked at the cost of some equipment and stuff and decided, well, hey, we'll build our own equipment. Dr. Leo has been very nice about having all the plans for everything we've built so far online at horizontalhive.com
for free.
So he's got the plans out there. It's open source, and so I have some experience with a hammer and a saw. My dad was a carpenter. My stepfather was a carpenter. My uncle was a cabinet maker. So I've been around that and exposed to it, and I've built a lot of things over the years. But I'm really better as a mechanic and welding and doing machinist work than I am carpenter, but we get by. So some of the things you'll see out here, I mentioned my uncle's a cabinet maker. I'm using his saw from his table saw from about 1960. So there's not going to be a safety on that thing. There's not any kind of guards. Yeah. So if you're using your equipment at home, you decide to build stuff, make sure you use your guards, wear some safety glasses, wear some hearing protection.
Be safe.
Be safe. I don't always do things the safe way. I get it done, but I try to do safe stuff when I can. So be careful if you're making stuff, working around the machinery and equipment and stuff. When it's possible, we're going to try to make some shorter videos. Shirley likes making little shorts, for, a couple of minutes, things like that, little 45-second stuff. But when it comes to making our woodenware and all, we'll make them as long as they need to be to show what we're doing. We shot a lot of video last year while we were building pieces and parts and putting it together. So, like, she already has a video up on making the lay-in frames. So one video is cutting the parts out. You'll see a lot of cutting and stuff like that. The next video that we put up after that is actually building the frames. Assembling the frames. Yeah. And then there'll be another one where we're putting the wire in the frames and putting the starter foundation strips in. So we'll break some of that stuff up into 3 so they're not a 30, 35, 40-minute video. We'll break them down into smaller videos when it's easy to do that. There may be some that are going to be, there might be some up there close to 20 minutes. We hope not. But we'll see how it works out. So feedback is good. We're old. We can learn new stuff though. Yeah. So enjoy these videos. Share them with your friends. There's been a lot of people who have YouTube channels out that has helped us along the way. We'll be posting links to other YouTube channels out there also. So thumbs up.
Like and subscribe.